This is Lee Habeeb, and this is Our American Stories. And all month long, we're bringing you stories of families who've lost children to miscarriage or sudden loss of an infant or stillbirth. So many families go through these tragedies. And on October 1988, President Ronald Reagan declared October as National Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. And there's an organization that's doing some very distinctive work to help families in their grief. Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep is a nonprofit that sends volunteer photographers to provide beautiful heirloom portraits to parents facing the untimely death of a baby. They have some 1,700 active photographers around the world and reach every state in the United States, 40 countries worldwide. To learn more about what they do, we spoke with one of their photographers in Colorado, Cliff Lawson. Here's his story of getting into photography and then many decades later, applying those skills to give hundreds of families a unique gift.
I got into photography back actually when I was in college and kept it as a hobby throughout my entire adult life. I was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam, and when I was took my R&R, my first stop was a camera shop in Tokyo to buy the Nikon F, which at that time was, that was the camera. And in fact, to this day, I still have it. Still works. I haven't put any film through it in 10 years, but that's how I got involved in photography as a hobby. Then I retired back in 2001, and after about a month or so, my wife decided, she said, sweetie, you need to go find something to do. And so I thought, let me get back to really hit this photography hard and make something of it. So ended up buying a digital camera. Of course, by that time, the digital photography was the thing. I started with just 2 lenses and a digital camera. I started taking some sports pictures. Then, at the time, I was working as a sales associate at a camera store here in Parker, Colorado. And a young man came in, and he was getting some pictures developed. Turns out he was an associate photographer for Now Letting Me Down to Sleep. And we got to talking, and he mentioned that, and I said, oh, really? Yeah. Well, what is this? He said, well, we take pictures of babies that will never leave the hospital. I think the reaction is like many people. Oh, my, that sounds so sad. He said, well, yeah, it is. He said, but here, let me show you some pictures. And he had his laptop, and it was beautiful images he'd taken of a child in the hospital. And so we talked some more, and he said, you should consider doing this. We could always use more photographers. Kind of I should think about it. I went home and talked to my wife about it. She said, well, you tend to be so emotional about things. Do you think you could handle it? And I said, I don't know. I don't think you can know until you try. A few days later, or maybe a week later, I was getting my hair cut. And the lady that cuts my hair, I was telling her about, we talk about what's going on in our lives, and I mentioned this to her. She came around in front of the chair and pointed her finger at me, and she said, you need to do this. I lost my son 22 years ago. They never let me see him. I would give anything to have what you're going to be able to give to these families. Well, that was kind of the tipping point. I said, well, wow, okay. So I sent in my application and volunteered and was accepted. And here I am now. As of the end of this year, I've been with Now Letting Me Down to Sleep for 10 years. And I think I've done 140, 150 babies in that 10-year span. So that's how I got involved with this. And it's just it's a wonderful organization. It's interesting to me that when we try to recruit photographers, they say, oh, I can't do this. I'd be so emotional. And I tell them that, I'm emotional too. In fact, I cry at the end of Undercover Boss when the guy gives away stuff to the employees, But this doesn't bother me because, you've got a job to do. And so you have to think about, do I get the lighting right? Am I getting the posing right? Am I getting the kind of shots that we want to get of the mom with the baby, dad with the baby, mom and dad with the baby, the various different poses we get. So you're really, we call it getting into photographer mode, I guess. But you are so much concerned with getting your job right that the emotion of the moment, it's I don't want to sound cold here, but it's their issue, not mine. My issue is to get the pictures. And I understand that, it's a very, very sad day for these families, but we have a job to do. So I don't find it that emotional taking the images. If I'm going to get emotional about it, it happens at the computer when I'm editing and processing those images, changing them to black and white and looking at it. Then sometimes, it kind of gets to me.
And by the way, what a remarkable series of events. I mean, Vietnam, camera shop, someone comes in, tells him about this gig. Then he's getting his hair cut. And this happens to us all the time in life. It's actually sort of how life happens. Some call it serendipity, and believers say it's a God thing. Either way you take it and play it. It's one of the two. And here are several couples who've lost babies speaking to how they felt during their Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep photo sessions and what the pictures have meant to them ever since.
She will fit in there.
There were moments of toughness and moments of weakness, and I think they weren't consistent, but they were off and on.
I was terrified of it. I knew that it was something that I would want and that's something that we needed to do to make memories, but I didn't know how I felt about the actual process.
They are really what we have. Instead of having him, we have, little mementos and things of his, but the pictures are him.
They're her. They're a tangible piece of her that we can hang on to and look at forever. We have our memories and we have our moments that we can kind of try to flash back to, but the pictures allow us to really go there and to really be back in those moments with her.
And I even keep one on the bathroom counter. So when I'm brushing my teeth and it's just kind of your monotonous day-to-day, it kind of takes you back and just lets you remember that child that you don't see every day.
Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep has given me the opportunity to remember it clearer and I guess hold on to it tighter.
And whether or not they look right away or they don't look for 3 months, 6 months, or 5 years, you don't get that chance again. So to be able to have an organization that will literally go anywhere and to anyone to give that gift is priceless.
Our favorite one that we have a big picture of in our hallway, he just looks so, so beautiful. He's just our baby in that picture. And when I think of him in my mind, that's the picture that I see.
And it just makes it almost feel like it's gonna be okay, and it gives people hope to know that, you're allowed to love that baby just as much as your other babies, and here's proof.
And if you're a photographer who'd like to volunteer or a family or healthcare professional that might want to request a remembrance photo session, you can learn more at nowilaymedowntosleep.org. That's nowilaymedowntosleep.org. And thanks to those families for sharing. Thanks also to Cliff, and that's Cliff Lawson in Colorado, for what you do and for sharing your story. This is Lee Habeeb, and this is Our American Stories. National Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. Not many people cover it. We do.